Do you have the emotional maturity, the EQ, emotional quotient, to go through the highs and the lows of what it takes to be successful? Because if you're going to be successful, you learn from the lows how to ride on the highs. I want to talk to you about change. And the one thing that you can count on is there will always be change. And if you don't plan on the change as a leader, that will determine how successful you are. Whether it is good change or bad change, there will always be change. And generally there will be both. Learn as much from your failures as you do from your successes. I think one of the most difficult things that can happen to people in leadership is to step into leadership that you didn't grow and that you didn't groom because you don't know where the issues are. There's something about being on the trajectory yourself and taking the roller coaster ride and riding the wave that makes a big difference as it relates to leadership. When you think about it this way. We often, when we select leaders or we want to evaluate people or we want to choose staff, we quickly want to know about their IQ, where they went to school, what their background is, because we're trying to find out in a nice way, are you smart? We want to know about your IQ, your intellectual ability, the quotient of intellectualism that you have through which to handle and manage situations based on your IQ. The second thing that we really need to be asking, and we really don't know this until we get into it, is your EQ. I'm talking about your emotional quotient. Your range of emotion and how you handle stress and pressure. Because many times you can have people on your team and on your side who have the intellectual ability to do what you're trying to get them to do, but they do not have the emotional wherewithal, and you don't know it till you get on the ride. What you want to know is, can you handle the down ride? Do you turn into somebody else when things start getting crazy? Do you have the emotional maturity, the EQ, emotional quotient, to go through the highs and the lows of what it takes to be successful? Because if you're going to be successful, you learn from the lows how to ride on the highs. So if you can't take the dip, you can't take the climb. You have to have the emotional wherewithal to go on the journey and to be comfortable and to remain cool in a crisis. Not lose your head, not freak out, even though you want to. You can do it on the inside. You can be like a screaming 6-year-old girl on the inside, but on the outside, you have to maintain your cool. Because there is nothing as frightening as a frightened leader. That's what happens when you hire somebody who has the IQ but doesn't have the EQ to handle the ride, who freaks under pressure, who starts screaming at the staff, who starts yelling at the employees, and they just fall apart under pressure. So you want to make sure they have good IQ, you want to make sure they have good EQ, but here's the thing that is most important, and there is no test for it. Their AQ, and we never talk about AQ. You've heard people talk about IQ, and you hear people talk about EQ. You don't hear people talk about AQ. AQ is your adaptability quotient. Are you adaptable? How do you respond to change? And let me tell you, I'm not sure which is the most challenging, the ride up or the ride down. Because success can be just as daunting as failure is. It can throw you off kilter. If you can't adapt quickly enough to it, you will lose it. You can have more opportunities than you have infrastructure. A blessing isn't a blessing if you can't handle it. So do you have the adaptability in your plan for what you're getting ready to do next? Do you have the ability to adapt to better, worse, richer, poor, sickness, health? You could be praying to win something that you can't handle if you get it. If you hire people for where you are, you wasted money if they can't go where you're going. Are you following what I'm saying? So you have to have that adaptability to be able to transition from one state into the next. And when the thing gets rough and it gets tough, what you need as a leader and as a thinker is not just the success to get there, but the success to stay there, sustainability. Most people in a session like this lack sustainability. They're like dogs chasing cars. And maybe the dog gets lucky and catches a car at a red light or something like that, but there's one thing that the dog never considered. I can't drive. You might be chasing after something that you can't run. It's not just about getting there, it's sustainability after you get there. But can you run it after you get it? What gives people comfort in leadership is when there is a commitment to stability in the midst of fluctuations. So the whole issue, the only thing that should be stable in your ride to success is you. And if you're not a person who can be stable in the ride, you shouldn't get in the car. The best thing to do with bad news is to deliver a clear, accurate, concise message. Clear messaging creates clear expectation, which avoids disappointment. People can handle bad news if they can trust your message. This is what happened. This is how we're going to handle it, and we are sorry. It is not what happens to you that matters, it is how you handle it. Stress is an indicator. It's a benefit, it's a favor. It lets you know you're at your limits. It does not mean that you cannot do it, but it does mean you have to change something. Anytime there is stress, you have to change structure or strategy. Whenever I am stressed out, it is an indication that I don't have the strategy or the structure for where I'm at, and that stress is a warning bell that you need to reboot, recalibrate, and either change your structure or your strategy for what's about to happen in your life. And I want you to think, since you're probably going to be working with limited people, you got big dreams but limited budget, and you've got a lot of people, a small amount of people to handle, are they tough enough? Do they have the structure to handle the stress of winning? If you build a life that never says you won, all you're going to end up with is tired.